Getting around to weapons, and I really wish I got to this one sooner because Bold Endings is very good. It's legit, and you immediately think of comparison, right? I see a lot of comparing Warden's Law, the new Mahes. Is Bold Endings better than Warden's Law? And I don't think that's the way to look at it at all, because Bold Endings just does its own thing, just how Warden's Law does its own thing. And I'll talk about that throughout the review. I'm going to be talking about PvP and PvE today, and Crucible-wise, I do believe it's the best heavy burst for the Crucible. I'm going to show you why. And that's if you choose to use a heavy burst in PvP. I don't really recommend that in the first place, but the goal is always to show what it can do. PvE-wise, it's a build pillar. It's very good. Stasis and strand weapons work so well with Prismatic, and on Stasis alone, it does great too. That's the appeal. It's a fully craftable Stasis 2 burst, and the stats are great. That's a big bonus. Being on top, you can craft it too. You can place stats where you want the stats to go. So stats aren't an issue at all. They're very good. For PvE, this type of hand cannon, they got pretty good sustained DPS. It's better than auto rifles in general. Not terrible, not the best, but honestly, for me, the damage is fine because the real reason is all the little things that it has. Starting off with the origin trait. Dealer's Choice. Final blows with this weapon gives you a small amount of super energy. If you have multiple weapons for the Pale Heart, it increases that effect. So community notes state that after a kill, you get 0.3 super energy. If you have 2 weapons with Dealer's Choice, 1.6, and with 3 weapons, 3% energy back. Regular Thresh is 1%. It's a decent origin trait, and this goes with Winning Hand from the artifact. While using weapons with Dealer's Choice, precision final blows or rapid defeats cause targets to explode. It's a solar detonation. A greater effect if several Dealer's Choice weapons are equipped. So if you use this thing or the Dealer's Choice weapons, you want this on. And remember, if you do plan to use Bold Endings, you could add in Still Hunt, Microcosm. That way you get a 2-stack of Dealer's Choice. And the third, Attrition Orbs. Land hits make orbs. The perk has a place, but not on Bold Endings. There's too much value elsewhere. Strategist, I think it's an S tier perk. It goes right along with Pugilist and Demolitionist. I love it for class ability builds. You get a kill, get 10% class ability back, enhances more. Air Trigger, I love the perk. But again, there's more value with this particular weapon elsewhere. While in the air, you do a reload. It's the same reload as Outlaw, on demand for free. But with this perk, you usually want to pair it with something in the 4th column, the final column, to reload into. The 4th column perks don't necessarily call for that or need that synergy. And Air Trigger also gives a reserve mod. It's a primary weapon, no need. We have To the Paint. It has its place on certain weapons, and Bold Endings is not one of them. While you take damage, you get increased handling and aim assist until it's stowed. And I wish they would change until the stowed part. You get a max of 10 stacks. You get around 20 aim assists at the max stack, and I assume like 30 to 50 handling. It is noticeable when it gets to max stacks. It is. But again, there's value elsewhere. We have Headstone. Precision final blows spawn a stasis crystal at the victim's location. A huge highlight for it. Remember not too long ago, they doubled the shatter damage from 200 to 400, so shatter is better. And just in general, always been a top tier option for a stasis weapon. The crystal has add clear with the increased shatter, and when it spawns up, it freezes. And the best part, it's in the 3rd column. That's rare on its own. Every now and again you see it, like on Liminal Vigil. Headstone in the 3rd. So when it's there, it's worth paying attention to, because you can usually pair some nice perks with it. So again, by itself, pretty good, but when you add on to it, which is what you want to do with stasis, it gets a ton better. We have Creeping Chill from the artifact, one of the most slept on artifact perks this season. Stasis final blows against slowed targets or frozen targets release a burst that slows. So it's a chaining thing, right? You do it once, you can keep doing it as long as the ads are there. One thing leads to another. And on subclasses, like Prismatic, we have Ruin, increases the size and damage of the shatter. We have Command, freezing targets, reloads all equipped weapons. You get aim assist, ability, and AE. You also get a stasis shard. Remember, when you pick that up, you get melee energy. So yeah, on its own, really good, but all these little things are massive for it, because we have the Dealer's Choice super energy. We have the Dealer's Choice explosions on top. And with how it's working, I do kind of think of it like an incandescent, a volt shot, or a destabilizing round. Because like right here, I'm kind of priming it all with the Bleak Watcher. You freeze things, there's a massive area of effect nuke that goes off. Very centrally located. It's not as big as an ignition, but it's very consistent. Deletes everything that it can. Scorch kind of spreads slowly, then takes out, then of course can get the ignition. Full shots a kill or reload onto the next one. But something like this is pretty consistent, and again, it just clears areas. It's good. We have Loose Change. Applying an elemental debuff to a target increases this weapon's reload speed, aim assist, and movement while aiming down sight. So you get a faster reload, you get 20 aim assist, it's 50 reload and 20 aim assist, you get a little faster strafe, but especially with that fragment, you can just bypass reloads. I don't recommend it. Rabbit Hit, S tier for it. And in the PvP section, it's going to be talked about a little bit more in depth. This is a 2 burst, so you get max benefits pretty fast. Max of 25 stability, 60 reload, and a reload duration multiplier. Enhance is going to be better. More on that later. And the 4th, Demolitionist. You get a kill, you get 10% innate energy. Enhanced is 11%. When you throw your grenade, it reloads the weapon. So again, some of these reload things, Air Trigger, Loose Change, and PvE, like Rapid Hit, a lot of that can be bypassed through perks and fragments. different things. Demo headstone's always been a very good combination. Usually demos in the third, headstones in the fourth, but them switching doesn't change anything because how that headstone shatter works, it's counting as demo kills. So all those little nukes that go off, you're getting grenade energy from it. Desperate Measures, not bad at all. This goes head to head with Golden Tricorn, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Get a kill 10%, and you start getting ability final blows. You get to 20%, then 30%, and you just keep that stack up as long as you can chain it. Not terrible, a solid pick. Dragonfly. So what's really cool about this, well, as we know, precision final blows, you create that elemental damage explosion. What's cool about this is we have this Dragonfly explosion. If you use that artifact perk, you have the solar explosion. And no, Dragonfly does not pop the Headstone Crystal. So if you try to do Headstone Dragonfly, it doesn't work. And again, a reminder, the only self-detonating Headstone weapon in the game is the Psi Hermetic. That's because it has Wildcard, the little Telesto bolts, and those do down the crystal. But moving on. One of the coolest things about it is there's well over 100 weapons with Dragonfly. This is the only darkness weapon, Stasis or Strand. And is that going to be enough to make it a clear choice? I don't think that it is. It's not terrible, because even though it doesn't break the crystal, you can use Dragonfly damage to break crystals once they're already formed. It's not a bad pairing. It's in play, but it's going to be up to you. It's one of those perks, no one's going to fault you for using it, and you're going to see value from it. Moving target, PvP focused, get 10 aim assist, get a faster strafe. Talk about that in the PvP section. Collective action, throw a strand tangle, collect an elemental pickup, you get increased damage. With Prismatic, that could be different things from Stasis Shards. You can create tangles, whatever it is. When you do that, it's 20% more damage for 7 seconds. If you do another pickup, it extends for another 7, max of 12 seconds. Not terrible, but that's 20%. Compared to the next one, Golden Tricorn, just get a kill, it's 15%. And there's a way higher ceiling. Well, you have a ×1 stack up. Grenade or melee final blows of the same damage type greatly increases weapons damage and duration. So it goes to 50% more damage, which is no joke. And I'm not sure if it's still bugged. I didn't have time to test it. But last I checked, it matched whatever your super is. Regardless, it's always been a good damage perk. But what kind of does hurt it is it's a stasis weapon. Because grenade melee final blows the same damage type. There's the hunter melee, but there's things like cold snaps, dust fields. So kind of on the fence. And that's how you look at it, damage perk-wise. Golden Tricorn is just a constant 15%. Desperate Measures is pretty much a constant 10, but you can easily get to 20 and 30, more than Golden Tricorn. Or Collective Action, really. So now currently, I would lean to Desperate Measures. And then finally, we have Eye of the Storm. PvP perk. When you get low health, and remember, they changed it, your shields don't even get broke in Eye of the Storm's up. You get 30 handling and massive accuracy cone size and growth. Great for dueling. And I'll talk about that in the PvP section. What I crafted would make the most sense to me was a Reload Masterwork, Fluted Barrel, Flared Magwell, Headstone demo. Because again, it's a tool, it's an engine, it's a build pillar. This way the reload isn't as bad, the handling isn't as bad. And when it comes to reload, I can bypass it with Fragments, I can bypass it with Demolitionist. We have Headstone interacting with Creeping Chill. You've seen it all throughout the gameplay. A lot of the time, even without Devour, you're gonna bypass a reload one way or another. But with Devour, it's really, really good. And all this time, you're getting super energy. And what's cool about that, as far as energy gains, we have all the prismatic things within the artifact, within the fragments on prismatic. Like this particular build, I've been running Sacrifice, having an Arc Solar Void buff, ability final blows grant bonus darkness energy, and rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee, rapidly defeating targets with darkness grants grenade. So again, that helps out the grenade. And what's so cool, I've been using it with Tessellation. And I might make a build video in a little bit on this. It's such a shame that it's not widely accessible, because especially with Devour, I'm throwing out a Bleak Watcher whenever I want. It's a stasis grenade, and just the theme, just in that central area, it nukes everything in sight. And Bold Endings is helping me get that grenade back to either throw another Bleak Watcher or toss it in Tessellation. And I'm almost done getting the Catalyst, and it'll make Tessellation throw out slow too, so it's going to help with Creeping Chill. It's been really, really nice. I think the ad clear and utility of Headstone is the best third column choice. But that isn't to say there isn't an argument for Strategist, because Strategist is really good, because on the other side, Strategist demo, you just down things and your abilities are flying. If you go a damage route, Headstone Desperate Measures, we also talk about Headstone Dragonfly, its place, it's not terrible, and a little iffy on Golden Tricorn right now. But the main thing, the Dealer's Choice Super Energy, the explosions from the Artifact mod, Creeping Chill from the Artifact mods, it's doing really, really well. The damage profile is pretty good. Not terrible, not great, but again, you're using it to do similar things to like I've done throughout the video that you've seen. It's good in that aspect. Very easy to get, and it's definitely worth a spot in your loadout or your vault just to have. PvP-wise, historically, I hate these things. I talked about the Mahes. I talked about Warden's Law. Warden's Law has cool things like Kill Clip. In the last farming session I did for it, I got Moving Target Kill Clip or To the Pain Kill Clip. What really makes these shine is the 2 burst. Otherwise, extremely painful 0.93 TTK, 5 crits, tier 5 and below, or crit 1 body. The issue with these, well, it's twofold. One is the amount of flinch that can be applied to shoot off a bullet, very unforgiving. 2 is the spread of them, and I talked about it in the Mahes review. So even though you're on the head at 30, 35, 40 meters, that second bullet will miss if you don't compensate for it. The aim assist doesn't help vacuum it in, it will miss. So you're fighting flinch, you're fighting that second bullet, and that's just inherently makes them pretty bad and why you don't really see them. But we have a lot of saving things with bolt endings for the Crucible. One is the weapon model. Just out of the gate, by far, this makes it the best one for me. It has this little dip. When the other ones start shooting at their max fire rate and they rise, you lose your target pretty easily. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. This one, you have that little window. It is awesome. So 1 is the weapon model and 2 is rapid hit. Throughout the gameplay, it's a range masterwork, hammer forged rifling, accurized, rapid hit, golden tricorn. So it's got 32 stability. In duels, it gets over 50 stability. I'm able to see my target. It helps my reload, which again, poor, it's at 26. As I'm shooting, it's pulling that second bullet closer to the head, which is invaluable. I'm able to craft it so I can get as high range as I can, and that leads into golden tricorn. 15% more damage. Tier 8 and below is a 2 burst, 4 crits for a 0.57, and that does happen. Sometimes with weapons, that's what you use them for, their chaining ability. It's unfortunate it can't do tier 10 and below, but a 0.57 is very, very fast. And this one's doing it at 36 meters, but I tried different roles and choosing what this thing needs. The archetype itself, I know about that bad second bullet of the burst. I think rapid hit is going to help out way more than anything there. Air trigger, To the Pain, headstone, whatever it is. So I think rapid hit is pretty safe to be the top pick in the 3rd. Now, as far as the 4th, Desperate Measures 1 does not consistently 2 burst. And when it comes to Moving Target and Eye of the Storm, they're great perks, but if you decide to use this thing, I feel you should be going for the 2 burst with Golden Tricorn. You don't really want to be dueling with this thing with Eye of the Storm and Moving Target. You don't. Because in the end, you should probably be using a 120 or a 140 over these. I said in the very beginning, I don't really recommend using these in the Crucible, but if you do, the value's with Golden Tricorn. And it works because the gun model. Like, I have that Kill Clip Warden's Law, which can 2 burst anything, but being able to see my target clearly is the biggest difference in the world to me. Ultimately, it just falls short. You can have fun with it if you want. If you do try it, I do recommend Rapid Hit Golden Tricorn, but this is a PvE weapon. And when things like Overcharge and stasis modifiers, it's going to shine even more. And again, another thing I started with, I kind of wish I got into this weapon a little bit sooner because I do love stasis builds. I do. I've been running it for a long time, whether it be a Renewal Grasp Hunter or a Bleak Watcher Shadebinder. I love them, and this is one of the best weapons I've used with stasis. And if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend that you do. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about bolt endings down below. How does it compare to the other stasis weapons that you have? And if you're using it, what kind of builds are you using? Let's talk about it. Thank you for watching. And until the next one, I am CoolGuy.